Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're talking about this Metabo HPT 10-inch dual bevel sliding compound miter saw running on their Multivolt platform. So it is cordless, okay? Not too long ago, we did post a community posting on YouTube how you can get this saw and a 4 amp hour battery kit with the charger and all that stuff you get as a kit shipped to you for right around, was it like $360, $370 or somewhere around there from like Woot and Amazon. So for a 10-inch compound dual bevel sliding miter saw kit with a battery for right around $360, $370 is a great deal, right? I don't think people can argue against that. But we're gonna go over this saw top to bottom, and then you may find out why you do not want this saw, or you may find out why you want the saw, right? So you don't wanna miss this. Stick with us. All right, you guys, so this right here is the 36 volt multi-volt miter saw on the Hitachi-Metabo HPT platform. The model number on this one is C3610DRA. If you buy it as a tool only or a kit, you know, there's like numbers and names and stuff like that after that. But we use this saw maybe just a small handful of times, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. But it's a fairly capable saw, and because it's cordless, you may want to pick it up to do certain things like that here and there, and it has decent like dust collection. There's other stuff going for it, right? So before we get too far into it, let's go look at the marketing hype. All right, so this right here is a 36 volt multi-volt 10-inch dual bevel sliding compound miter saw. It got an award in 2020 and 2022. It can bevel up to 60-degree miter angle to the right and 55-degree miter angle to the left for ultra flexibility. You can buy it as a kit with a battery, or you can buy it as a kit with the multi-volt adapter. The multi-volt adapter allows you to plug it into the wall and pretty much run it as an AC power tool. This has a lot of power that may not have been felt until now, with Metabo's Multivolt HPT platform delivering power to increase productivity and efficiency. It has a lot of safety features and stuff like that built in. It's backwards compatible with, with their 18 volt tools and stuff like that if you get the Metabo HPT battery. It bevels up to 48 degrees left and right, which allows user to quickly adjust the bevel angle with upfront controls. Obviously that's nice. It's got an electric brake, it's got slide rails, it's got laser, it's got easy to read markings, it is adjustable. All the adjustments for the cutting performance and stuff like that you need to do is going to be up front, and it's covered by Metabo's HPT Professional 5-year tool warranty, which is a little bit different now because most of people who've been following the channel and stuff like that, because I know Metabo HPT tools generally have lifetime warranty on the tool body, so that's a little bit different there. But if you do buy it, it will include all your typical stuff like the vise assembly, the blade wrench. It will include a 10-inch blade, a dust bag, and all that kind of stuff, right? So depending on which way you pick it up, you may get it with the battery or a tool only or the AC adapter. But the one that we posted was the kit with the battery. All right, so let's go over some of this stuff. Obviously, it's a forward rail design, so it slides forward like this, right? The locking mechanism is the traditional stuff that you would see in almost all the miter saws nowadays. The spinning nut bolt thing that kind of holds it down. I'm not necessarily preferential to the design. I actually really don't like this because it kind of feels like you're just putting pressure on this rail to just hold it there. But that's just me. But it does slide forward and backwards, pretty simple. And as you can hear right now, it is fairly noisy when you are doing a slide, and then mind you, this saw is fairly new. It's not like brand new, but it's only been used a small handful of times, right? So maybe it gets better over time, maybe it doesn't, but it's not something that I started using once and felt, wow, this feels really smooth. Unlike some of the other miter saws that we've reviewed on the channel, it's like when you're using it, it's like, wow, that's really smooth. This, you do not get that feeling. If anything, you get the exact opposite feeling of that. Okay. So anyways. This is how you would lock it in if you want to bring it up here. Let's just put that there. Right here, there's a light for some of this stuff. This fence is removable, but you cannot lift it up, right? It has to slide out. So it is a removable fence that has to slide out. We'll take it off for now. This wing here does not come out. It's actually bolted in, and you do have to bolt that in. But the fence, the one good thing about the fence is that the fence is fairly decently tall, as you would imagine for a 10-inch miter saw. So it's obviously got that stuff going on there. And here's where you would like bolt it into a miter saw stand if you wanted to. We actually did not, mainly because this is, you know, we actually don't use it quite that much. So on this, you know, obviously here's the blade. It does come with this Metabo 10-inch blade. This is still the original blade. It's got this clearance table here. It's pretty, you know, big gap in that clearance table as you would need to do like the 45 miters and all that kind of fun stuff. And here is the miter gauge, and we'll talk about that in a second when we get to some of the other controls. But actually, let's talk about that now. So as you can see with this miter gauge, traditionally on most miter saws that are currently on the market, it's a piece of metal, right, which is either engraved or has a sticker, and then you can adjust the miter gauge depending on, you know, what exactly you need to zero it out or make it perfect, right? On this case, it's completely different because it's literally just a sticker they've stuck on here, okay? So when your saw coming out of the box is not straight or perfectly square, right, you can't move this miter gauge to kind of adjust it, right? The way you adjust it is there's bolts in here and you kind of loosen the bolts on this side and that side, you know, depending on what's wrong with your saw, and then you can kind of move it just a little bit to square up the fence, right? But this sticker is permanently exactly where it's supposed to be. They do not intend for you to move it. Like I said, it's a sticker, okay? You can see right here, it's got indexes for the detents when you do deal with that stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, unlike traditional Metabo HPT tools, I do not get the sense that this thing is built for durability, mainly because the controls and stuff that happen down here, yes, these are plastic, but the parts that index to here, like these detents and stuff, are also plastic, right? So yeah, it might probably hold up well in the long run, but you know, the plastic parts contacting with this metal, especially on detents, is probably not the best thing. And most of the people who've had the 10-inch Makita, what is it, like XSL06 or whatever the model number is, the 18x2 with the aluminum rail is gonna completely understand, you know, those detents and stuff will wear out quickly if you use it a lot, okay? And if you're not careful with it. So this plastic piece being here is, you know, just a concern. This right here is where you would do the bevel adjustment. So right now it's locked down. If you press it down, if you press it up, right, you can, it allows you to do the bevel. And as you can see here, the bevel here is not really smooth. You can go back there and kind of loosen the net. I kind of just left it as is because I don't use the saw too much for that much bevel stuff. But right here is where you would lock it down if you wanted to do miters, right? So this plastic piece right here, so I can show you, plastic piece right here, is what you would use to adjust the miter angle. So let's get rid of this. Let's lift it up and let's show you how that works. So in order to adjust the miter angle, you press this down and you can turn it, right? There's a detent right there at 15. There's another detent at 22.5, 31.6, and all the pretty much common stuff. 45, and it will go all the way to 55 this way, like towards the left, right? So it will go all the way to 60 towards the right. Okay, and as you can see here, the indexing at the detents is a pretty strong response, so that's pretty good. You know, some miter saws, it won't be that strong, but this one is pretty good. The thing to take away from that is it's good, but it's using plastic. So, you know, that's probably gonna wear out over time, I would assume. If you wanted to put it at a miter angle that was not at a detent, you just put it exactly where you want it, push this down traditionally, and then it will just lock that in place. Like the Makita GSL02 saw, the one that we reviewed earlier in an earlier episode, it's got a foot right here that you can put down, you spin it and you put it down, and that helps prevent it from tipping forward, right? If you do have it extended all the way out to make a cut like that. And if you are not using a very sharp blade, actually even if you are using a very sharp blade, depending on what you're cutting, it will have a tendency to tip forward. So that's definitely something you want to do, all right? While we're here, we'll go ahead and talk about this blade change mechanism. We haven't changed the blade on this one. Like we said, we haven't used it too much. We'll drill into that in a little bit, but you know, the change mechanism, you just take this off. It's traditional miter saw stuff, right? You just take it off, spin it up, and you can change the blade out. This one here has a laser. You can kind of see the laser controls through this blade guard. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But other than that, there's not too much other stuff going on. All right, so now let's talk about this other saw. It's pretty much almost exactly the same as the left side, except, you know, it's just the other side, right? This also slides off. You do have to slide it off. Like I said, you can't pull it off. But, you know, pretty pretty much the motor is here, the battery fits in right there. You do have to use a multi-volt battery. You cannot use an 18-volt battery. This is a 36-volt saw, okay? The trenching mechanism is right here. If you did want to use trenching, it's a pretty standard thing. You know, you just put it down and set the bolt to exactly what you want to do. If you don't know what trenching is, just think of it as like a poor man's dado. You can make repetitive, same depth cuts in material, right? So if you did want to use it or spring it back up, or if you want to use it as a chop saw, what you would do is you would slide this all the way back, right? And then you would lock it in place by spinning the bolt. And then you would loosen this, right? And now it operates as a chop saw without sliding, okay? Like I say, we haven't used it too much, but even out of the box, it's, you know, it's squeaky. So that's what's going on there. On the other side here, as you can see, you know, not sure how what's going to come out on video, but here's the plastic piece that works when you do the miters, adjust the miter angles and stuff like that. So that's there. This one here has, let me move it. So this one here has, you know, where you would put the clamp there system, kind of you can press that to hold it down. This wing, as I mentioned, is not adjustable, same as the other side, okay? All right, so this right here is obviously a top part of the handle. It's a D handle that's on the right-hand side of the blade. The safety is here, right? And then you would have to press this to engage the blade, right? So this is not necessarily the worst thing, but it kind of is. What I mean by that is, if you're a left-handed person, right, you're not gonna be able to engage or use this, right, like this way. You kind of have to use it backwards, upside down like this, which gets really awkward. So for left-handed people, it's probably not the best saw for you. There's a light button here, little light-looking icon, the same icon that looks like, you know, in a car, that you know you can turn light on. And right here is a laser button, and this uses a laser. All right, so on the bottom part of the saw, you can tell, you know, they try to keep it lightweight as possible by keeping it mostly hollow, but also doing a lot of cross bracing. So with that being said, it is a pretty sturdy saw. There's no issues with that. As you can see right here, this is plastic. This piece right here is metal, but this piece with the detents right here, how it operates, that part is plastic. All right, so let's talk about this bevel thing up close, okay? As you can see here, there's a legend built in that kind of tells you how to use it, right? So all this stuff is in the manual too, so in case you can't read that, you know, just read the manual. But the point is that it tells you pull this out to get to 45, press it in to get to 0 and 33.9 right there, right? So according to this, when it's pressed in right now, it will zero out when you try to bevel to the right, right? That's how you bring it up to 0. And if you wanted to bevel to the right, what you would do is you would actually, now it's locked in, so go back, pull it to the right, and it should get you to 45, or to the left, I mean, sorry, 45, right? So here, as you can see, not sure it's coming out very well on camera, but according to the legend or the marker that I'm reading, it's actually at like 44 or 43, right? So it's not necessarily perfect that way. So if I come back to this side, right, and bevel to the right, this marker is actually really close to 45, right? So there is that. But if you wanted to get to this 33.9 using the quick, let's call it, you know, a detent or whatnot, what you do is you probably hold this in, and as you move the bevel, you just get put pressure on it to push it in, and it kind of gets you to that point, right? So it's a little bit of an awkward setup to kind of do it that way. You can kind of pull it up, and it'll also take you back to 0 here, right? But if you want to press it, go back to 0, come back this way. Okay, so the other thing to note is that, you know, if you wanted to go this way with that up, it'll take you to exactly where it says should be 33.9, but it's actually really closer to like 31, 32, depending on where you take it, right? So like I said, this bevel adjustment system is really kind of a little bit strange, not necessarily our favorite. So, you know, there's other saws that are, you know, much better at that than this. All right, so this is part of the video where you would probably want to see all the cutting footage and stuff like that. So to keep the video as short as we can, just look after the end credit or the end scene to get all that footage, right? So for us, let's just go ahead and wrap this up, right? So this is a good miter saw from the Metabo HPT group, right? They pretty much put out a 10-inch dual bevel sliding compound miter saw with a D handle and a laser. That's the long story short, right? It can do, you know, pretty decent sized cuts. It's got a pretty decent sized capacity and depth that it can do, but it's got its own quirks, right? Durability first, you know, I'm not sure how long that's gonna really hold up, but you know, they are only offering a 5-year warranty with this versus, you know, their lifetime warranty on some of their other power tools, but it's got a lot of good stuff going for it, right? So the good stuff going for it is, one, forward rail design. It's got plenty of power on the multi-volt platform. It is a 36-volt tool. So it's got plenty of power to cut by engineer lumber, 2x12s, 10x2s or whatever, stuff like that. So it's got a good enough power to do that. The other thing is that it will bevel up to, or angle up to 60 degrees, or miter up to 60 degrees in one direction, but not the other direction. It's 55. There's that. Let's talk about the downsides to it, right? So the downside is, number one is going to be the flex of the tool when you have it all the way out in the rail, okay? So when you have the drop saw extended all the way out, even with one finger, right, without trying, you can get a lot of flex in the blade, okay? And I didn't even look for that at first. It's one of the things that I was using, and I just felt like it was flexing. So if you just look up closely, it will be flexing. Even with the sharp blade, just doing a nice, simple, easy cut, you're still getting a good amount of flex. It's probably the most amount of flex I've ever personally seen in a miter saw. So due to that reason, it's not, I would not mainly use it for like finish work or anything. You need really tight joints and miters. But for like rough framing work, it's going to be more than good enough. Even when this saw is brought all the way in, there is a little amount of flex. It's still more flex than some of the other miter saws that we've seen, but you know, there is that, right? The other thing is that, you know, these wings are not adjustable. There's that. It's using a laser. Some people are going to complain. Some people are going to say that's great. And all the plastic stuff they have going on here for, you know, the miter angles and stuff like that, kind of question its durability. And also, you know, just using it, you're just not saying, wow, this is really refined, smooth, glide, power, and all that stuff, right? So for like rough jobs, it's great. Most miter saws do this, have this little nut to hold it in. I'm not a fan of that, but you know, there is that. So for that purpose, it's great. The other thing I didn't talk to you guys about was a dust collection port. It does come with a dust bag. The real good plus about this saw is that it uses a standard like 2-inch port to kind of get the dust collection going. So you don't have to buy like adapters and all this kind of weird stuff to make it fit. And it works generally okay for the saw, right? So if you're gonna ask me the question, would I go buy this tool again? Personal answer is going to be no, mainly because, you know, we have other tools that generally seem to work well and do a better job at doing exactly what this does, okay? But if you were going to ask me if I were to buy this tool again to do like rough framing for the price that we got it at, for $360, that's probably a really good price with the battery, okay? If you look at the cordless miter saw market for a 10-inch cordless miter saw that can do dual bevel and sliding, you're not going to get that for like $360, right? So if you're gonna look at this saw to pay full retail price, like $600-700 or whatever, or something like that, I'll definitely not buy that. There's other saws I would buy for that in that price range, but for like $350, $360 price range as a kit, yeah, I'd probably pick it up again to do just like rough framing, right? So there is that. So all the cutting footage is probably coming up. So otherwise, I don't have anything else for you. Hope this video helped you guys out. Get back to work. Have a great day, and then we'll see you guys next time.